What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a continuation of the Stat Focus series where I go over every available 7-star champion in each class of, the year 2025 in the month of January. So this is not in perpetuity for every character to ever exist. This is just currently, and going over what stat focus you should run for them on offense and defense. Just going to jump straight into it here with Adam Warlock. So, Adam Warlock, really good character. I'm a big fan of Adam Warlock. I think the best offensive stat focus for him is the critical damage. Adam crits a lot with his normal rotation, so critical damage makes the most sense for offense. And then defense doesn't really matter. Adam, not much of a defender for the most part. I think Pierce is definitely solid. Also, giving him energy or physical would be a great thing to do on defense, as most champions benefit from one of those three. Okay, moving on. Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill doesn't necessarily need any great stat focus. I think crit is the best for him because when you have all those fury buffs on you and they're paused, if you're critting more and you're dealing more critical damage, and your furies are enhancing those crits, you're going to deal a lot of damage. So I think that's the best thing for Bill. And then defense doesn't really matter. I think Pierce is the standard thing you should run for most non-defender champions. Moving on. Let me clean my screen here because it seems like I'm having some trouble hitting that next button. Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is a really good 7-star. I'll be honest, I haven't used her all too much. I wish I had her awakened because I'd probably use her a lot more if she was duped. But offensively, I think crit is the best thing for her. Again, fury buffs increasing your damage, critical hits increase your damage even further. It's a match made in heaven, right? And then defense, Pierce, not really a defender. She's actually quite a bad defender if you're using a mystic character against her, so don't really worry about the defense stat focus all too much. Corvus Glaive. Corvus Glaive is kind of a character that, at least personally, I've sort of forgotten was even on my roster. Not because he's bad, just because I haven't really used him at all. So Corvus is great, still an amazing 7-star, and I'm very happy to have him as a 7-star and have him awakened. In the future, I should probably rank this guy up. But that's not the point of me talking about him right now. The best offensive stat focus for him is critical damage. Corvus has guaranteed critical hits, so increasing the damage of those guaranteed crits makes a lot of sense. And then defense, obviously Pierce, because he's not really a defender. Gamora, very similar to Corvus. She has a lot of guaranteed crits, a lot of critical hits from her base. Critical damage rating makes the most sense for her because all of those hits, basic hits, relic hits, special hits, are going to benefit from that critical damage increase. So that's what you should run for Gamora. And then defense, I have armor. Doesn't really matter. Armor, Pierce, any of the resistance passives would be good for Gamora. Gladiator. I love Gladiator. He is natural Sig 100. I gave him one Sig Stone like a couple of months ago when Sig Stones had just come out and I got a Cosmic one. So he's natural Sig 100 and then one Sig Stone from me giving him a stone. So I love Gladiator. Such a fun, useful character for me. I think crit makes a lot of sense for Gladiator, but honestly, something that might even be better, depending on the matchup, is energy or physical. So if you give him the energy or physical stat focus on offense, that's going to make him even tankier in a lot of situations, especially when you're going against champions where you are intentionally getting hit by specials. If they are physical or energy based, that physical or energy resistance is going to help you quite a bit. And then defense, Pierce is absolutely fine, so don't really need to worry about that for defense. Then we have Gorr. Gorr's a fun character. I haven't used Gorr in quite a bit, but I know there are a lot of fans of Gorr out there. I think Gorr is a standard crit on offense, Pierce on defense sort of champ. If I'm wrong about Gorr, please let me know, but that's what I would run for Gorr. Hyperion. You definitely want to run crit for Hyperion. He has a very low natural crit chance, so increasing that crit chance to above 20% makes a Hyperion feel a lot better. And then defense, you want to run physical resistance because Hyperion actually has negative physical resistance in his base kit. So running the stat focus to increase it beyond the negative and bring it into the positive is going to make him a lot better on defense for those champions that deal physical damage. King Groot, Deathless King Groot to be specific, I think crit makes the most sense. You have those fury buffs increasing your damage. You want to crit more because you have furies. And then defense, I think Pierce is fine. He's not much of a defender. Any of the energy or physical stat focuses would be great as well. Knull. Knull is an amazing character. Mine is natural 660. I should take my Knull up to rank 3. I don't know why I haven't at this point. Feels like I'm just sort of waiting on this, but Knull definitely deserves rank 3 for me, and he'd be a very fun one. Crit on offense I think is fine, but honestly Knull has such a high crit rating that critical damage rating might be the best stat focus for him. Obviously, critting more is better than critting harder, but with such a high crit rate, I feel like Knull benefiting from more critical damage makes more sense. And then defensively, Pierce is what I recommend for most non-defender champions. Maestro. Maestro is awesome. Love Maestro. Definitely a defender first, but a very underrated and consistent attacker. He sort of reminds me of a less potent but still consistent Negasonic Teenage Warhead on attack, because you build up to this threshold of damage and you just kind of maintain it, and that's how the whole fight goes. So Maestro is awesome. Offensively speaking, I think crit is the best thing for him. Most champions are going to benefit from the critical rating mastery, or the critical rating stat focus. Maestro has a pretty low base crit chance, so I'd give that to him to boost it. And then defense, you want to run energy resistance, because a lot of champions who deal with Maestro well deal energy damage. So in Alliance War and Battleground situations, you want to slow them down a little bit by putting the energy stat focus on defense. Medusa, personal favorite of mine from last year with the Glorious Guardians reworks. It's hard to think that that was just last year, because it's still January when I'm recording these videos. So, yeah, Medusa is amazing. I think the best thing for her on offense is crit, because I believe, actually no, that may have changed. Her whole crit replacement thing. Yeah, Medusa's lightning immune types have a 50% chance to inflict an indefinite bleed. Yeah, there is nothing about crits guaranteeing the bleed. So the crit is still good for Medusa. I'm thinking of the old Medusa kit. Crit is still the best thing to run on offense, because you have those fury buffs, you have that armor shatter. You're going to be hitting way harder, and when you crit, you're going to hit even harder. And then defense, again, Pierce, she is not a defender for the most part. Energy or physical would also be good for Medusa. Nova. Nova's a really fun champion. I've gotten to fully understand how to utilize Nova in the last couple of months, maybe the last year, and I have my 6-star rank 5 ascended. He's great. I'm a big fan. I think offensively crit makes the most sense. Again, very similar to most champions in the cosmic class. You have furies, or you have access to reducing the opponent's armor rating. More critical hits during a combo is more damage, so run that. And then defense, I think Pierce is a really good idea for Nova. I'm not sure if he has any negative resistance. Yeah, he doesn't. You could obviously run physical or energy, and that would benefit him quite a bit, but Pierce makes the most sense because of that non-contact medium that you're going to be blocking for the most part. Odin. Odin is such a badass character. I really have grown quite fond of Odin. He's so fun, so useful, so much damage, just really consistent. Odin, you definitely want to run the crit stat focus for him. Again, more furies, more critical hits, more damage, and then Odin's not really much of a defender, so I would just run Pierce. Red Goblin, kind of another similar case where it's just critical rating on offense, Pierce on defense. Nothing fancy to really talk about with Red Goblin, although big fan, love Red Goblin. Much love to him. Scream, one of my favorite champions from 2024 is Scream. I have her natural Sig 40. She's still a Titan, unfortunately, so that additional dupe was from a Titan crystal, but not going to complain too much. She's up at rank 3. She benefits from the Sig, so it's not the end of the world. Stream doesn't necessarily need anything in particular on offense. So all of Scream's damage, or I would say 90% of it, comes from the burst damage you deal during your special 2 and the bleeds that you're dealing as you ramp there. So critical rating is fine, and obviously more critical hits are better. But if you're using Scream in a situation where maybe you need some energy resistance or some physical resistance, definitely consider those as priority stat focus. But as a baseline, I think crit is fine. And then Scream's not much of a defender, so I think Pierce is the way to go. Sersi, natural Sig 100. I know, very interesting. I've pulled this champion, what, 6 times now? Yeah. Sersi's good. I like Sersi. I don't love Sersi. I think she's just not really my cup of tea in terms of character design, but she's good. I will not deny that she is a good and useful character. But offensively, again, she's a champ with Fury buffs. You want to run crit with most champions that have Fury buffs or attack modifiers. Most champions, not all champions. And then defense, I think crit is fine, but also consider running one of the resistance passives for Sersi on defense. Just to slow down champions like Tigra, Kate Bishop with their physical or energy damage. Slowing them down and making the fight take a little longer might save you and get you a round win or get you a win on Alliance War defense. Who knows? Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer is a champion that I have like a little soft spot for in my heart. I'm a fan of Silver Surfer. I made a video on him a long time ago. One of my first ever videos after I won the tournament in New York Comic Con. One of my first ever videos that did really well was the Silver Surfer video. And ever since then, I've been a fan of Surfer. I've never really, dogged him or like called him a not good useful character because I know that he's useful and I know that he's good. He's just not as good as people wanted him to be. And I even talked about this in a follow-up video I made to that original video a couple of months ago with the failure or the impossible expectations of Silver Surfer, I think was the title. So Surfer's cool. I think crit is the best thing to run on offense. Again, I feel like a broken record at this point, but the Cosmic class is full of champions with big Fury buffs. Big Fury buffs, more crits, great time. So run crit on offense, and then defense, I think Surfer has negative physical resistance. Yeah, so you want to run the physical resistance defense stat focus for Surfer to bring that from the negative into the positive. Superior Iron Man, a personal favorite of mine. I love this champion so much. One of my favorite cosmics to be reworked ever. Just such a fun, useful character. I love the aggressive intercept play style. He is amazing. Superior Iron Man benefits from crit because he has that massive armor break on the special 2. And if you crit with that armor break on the special 2, you can have things like 200, 300, 400,000 damage on that special 2 crit. And all of your basics that follow feel fantastic. So I'm a huge fan of Superior Iron Man with the crit stat focus. And then defensively, he is a nothing defender. He is a potato. Does not matter what you run. I have armor because he's an Iron Man, and Iron Men have armor. So that's why that is the sole reason I'm running armor on Sim over there. Terrax, another natural Sig 100 champion of mine. Terrax has definitely fallen off a lot in terms of relevancy. I don't really see him often in any situation. Maybe once or twice in a Battlegrounds deck or, one place on the map for Alliance War defense. But there's so many good options for Terrax nowadays. He's a solid attacker, definitely underrated on attack, but nothing to write home about. Offensively, I think crit is fine, but honestly, the best thing for Terrax is critical damage, because if you read his kit, he has this thing with his heavy attack, where if he triggers his heavy attack while the rock field is active, the heavy is a guaranteed crit. So dealing more damage on your guaranteed crit is going to feel a lot better than just critting more on basic hits. So I think that's the best thing for offense. And then defense, Pierce is fine, but if you want to slow down champions like Absorbing Man and other great options that deal energy damage, run the energy stat focus on defense. OG Thanos is a trophy champion. Don't worry about him too much. Crit, Pierce, that's all you really need to know. He's a trophy champion, not very useful. This Thanos, however, is very useful. Arguably the best the best 7-star cosmic available in the game right now. Deathless Thanos is crazy. So, I heard recently from DLL himself that he prefers to run critical damage on Thanos because he already has a high critical rating, and I don't blame him for that. It makes sense. He has over 30% critical rating, which means he's critting way more often than most champions. So critting harder when you do crit makes more sense. So I'm going to take that from, DLL's direct, it's not a direct quote, but from what I heard DLL say in a live stream about him running critical damage. I would recommend all of you to do the same, to run critical damage on offense. And then defense, I have armor, but obviously block penetration is the way to go for Thanos, or any of the resistances to slow down champions that deal physical or energy damage over time. The Serpent, another DLL champion. Honestly, Serpent is one of my favorite attackers in the entire game. Like, in the history of the game, Serpent is just, he's up there, like, top 5, top 10 overall attacker in the game, period. He's just so unbelievable. Defense first, because that's the most important one for this guy. definitely run Pierce. More block damage, more chip damage. You're going to be having a good time or a bad time, depending on what side of the fight you're on. And then offensively, you want to run Crit because he has that massive Fury he starts off with and can build up Fury passives in longer fights. So you want to be critting more often when you use the Serpent. Venom, I love Venom so much. One of my favorite overall characters in the entire game. I have such a soft spot for Venom. He is the reason I started playing this game. I saw a commercial in 2015 in November where it was one of the like early MCOC commercials that they were doing at the time, running them on TV. And I saw Venom and the original classic Spidey before his visual rework like 2 years ago, and I was enamored with Venom. I was like, I have to get Venom. There's no way I can't continue in this world without getting that Venom. So that is how I started playing, and ever since then, Venom has been, within my top 5 or top 10 for favorite overall champions in the entire game. And Venom's also great, so that helps that he's a good character. Definitely, definitely critical rating on offense. Venom benefits massively from crits, not only because he deals more damage when he crits, but critical hits deal bleed, and his bleed damage is very good. So definitely run bleed with or critical rating with Venom. And then defense, block pen. Venom the Duck. I haven't even set his stat focus, so I guess we can do it now. Offense is going to be crit, and defense is going to be block pen. Again, most champions are going to have this stat focus set up because of how effective it is. Venompool. Venompool is really cool. I'm glad to have him as a 7-star now. I would really like him on my free-to-play account because I'd probably take him up to rank 3. Not sure how highly I'll rank Venompool on my main account if I rank him at all, but as a rank 1 7-star, he's useful. Offense, I think critical rating is the best. He has a low crit rating just like his brother Venom. And then defense, Pierce, he's not a defender. Doesn't really matter. Vision Aarkus, this guy, Megamind over here, Mr. Baldhead. Vision Aarkus benefits a lot from the critical rating because he has that massive fury he gains from the special 3, and then obviously the armor shatter from the special 2 increases the damage of his attacks even further, so you want to crit when you have both of those things active. And then defense, I think Pierce is fine, but honestly running something like energy or physical resistance makes a lot of sense because most champions who deal with Aarkus well deal some sort of physical or energy burst damage, like Tigra. So slowing them down a little bit makes a lot of sense for Aarkus. Vox. Vox is so cool. Such a badass character. I want to get Vox ranked up as soon as possible. He is amazing. Such a useful champion. I can't believe they gave him away for free as a 7-star for Paragons in the 10 Days of 7 Stars event last December. That was just unbelievable, like mind-boggling that they give this guy away for free. But Vox, his offensive stat focus doesn't necessarily need to be crit. I think it makes sense because he has an 8.6% critical rating. So bringing that up to around, 10% now? 13% with the critical stat focus. It makes a lot of sense because Vox does have Furies, but Vox's damage primarily comes from his degen, so you can run really anything on offense. Critical rating, physical or energy, block proficiency, any of those make a lot of sense. And then defensively, I believe Vox has, does he have negative energy resistance? No, he just has the base 0 and 0. So Vox is not really a defender, but again, slowing down champions who are typically used for him, Kate Bishop, Tigra, with the physical or energy stat focus makes a lot of sense. And then we're back at the top with Adam Warlock, but there are a couple of cosmic champions I do not have, Angela being one of them. Angela is amazing. She really is such a useful 7-star. I think the best offensive stat focus for Angela would be critical rating. She has that massive fury, and of course, like I've mentioned 15 times already, massive fury, increased critical rating, that's a great time. That's an amazing combo. Angela's not a defender, so I think the armor stat focus is fine for defense. You're not really going to need to run anything on defense. Same goes for Carnage. I think Carnage is the exact same. Run the critical rating stat focus on offense. Carnage really benefits from critical hits. I would not be opposed to running critical damage on Carnage, but because he has such a low base crit rate, it makes sense to bump that up to like 16% at its base with the stat focus. And then again, defense is just Pierce or, armor, energy, physical, whatever you want to run with Carnage. Doesn't really matter. So that is the Cosmic class covered in Stat Focus in record time, less than 20 minutes. At least this portion of the recording is less than 20 minutes. The whole video itself will be like 20 or 21 minutes. But I recorded this whole thing in less than 20 minutes, which was my goal. So hopefully I can do that for the remaining 3 classes. But thank you all very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, and I really hope you did, please consider hitting that like button and also hitting the subscribe button, because both of those things extremely help out the channel, and it gets the word out to the YouTube algorithm that I am making content people are enjoying. But regardless, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.